Channeling Session, March 8, 2024. This channeling session highlights a three-part proclamation made by the Galactic Federation. The Galactic Federation's three-part proclamation: 1. The necessity to release all which no longer serves you. 2. That there is an overall increase in perception, opening of the third eye. 3. Everyone is going through some version of these 2 points, the necessity to release and the expansion of awareness and perception. After the initial prayer, the session begins.
There are several who are here. Many of them have only come to bear witness to the proclamation that is intended to be made. We ask you to begin in the manner that you see fit.
I did not understand. They are witnessing for what?
We have come on behalf of many that you have already been in touch with to relay an important and urgent message. We ask that you allow us to deliver this important and urgent message in the way that is most convenient for you to receive it. And for that, we ask you to proceed as you have intended.
May I ask who we talk to?
We currently are messengers on behalf of the Galactic Federation.
Are you positive?
I am positive, and the Federation that I am associated with is composed of both positive and negative entities. We are here on behalf of the frequency that you radiate, which is overwhelmingly a positive frequency.
Thank you. We are eager to hear your message.
Would you first like to ask your questions?
None of them are urgent.
Then we shall proceed. You have entered into a new stage of your development. This stage is typified by a release of all that is no longer useful. This release, as many you have spoken to before this discussion have described, is often associated with suffering. It is akin to what Cynthia described as birth. We are describing this process that has already been described. We seek to explain the specific aspects of this change that are occurring to you now and what you can expect to continue to occur in the future. What is happening to you now is a realization that much of that which you hold dear is associated with the identity you have developed. This identity is being challenged, and your mind in its current form is looking for a new identity to grab onto, one that is better than the old identity. The shift that is occurring is primarily typified, at this stage that you're in right now, by a realization that identity itself is a part of the illusion. Much of what you are letting go of is associated with the aspects of yourself that you no longer feel are serving you. But some of the things you are letting go of are things you wish to hold on to, for you identify with them in what you would consider a positive way. We ask you to remind yourself that all that you hold on to is not a reflection of who you are. It is a reflection of what you have attracted. And what you have attracted is only a reflection of one of 2 things: that which you want or that which you do not want. We hope that that which you want will become more and more of that which you attract to you. In order for this process to accelerate and go into the further stages that it is intended to go into, you must release. You must release all that is associated with the illusion of who you are. We would like to continue and elaborate this point of what this release means. Do you have questions up until now?
No, I'm eager to hear more.
Much of what you have accumulated in this life is the result of things that you have once desired or things that you did not want. Much of what you call belongings fit in one of 2 of these categories. You must begin to release and make room for that which is now attempting to come into your life. For starters, take an assessment of all of your belongings, lay them out all in front of you, and ask yourself how many of these things that I call belongings, that we identify with now, are a reflection of who we were, who we intend to be, or are simply tools that are intended to allow us to attract better that which we want. All the things that belong to you fit in one of these 4 categories. We often hold on to things because they remind us of better times that we have experienced in the past. We hold on to things because of the potential utility they could have in the future. We hold on to things because we think that if we let go of them, we will miss them greatly. But in holding on to all of these things, we do not allow room for that which is intended to come to us. Take an assessment of all that belongs to you and know that at least 40% of your belongings belong to who you were and no longer resonate with that which you are intended to receive. Release these things. Allow room for that which must come in. It is better to have a new home that is empty than an old home that is full. For in its emptiness, the mind is forced to imagine that which it wants, instead of being reminded of that which it was or that which it is. Space is needed. In order for this space, release must occur, and then the imagination may be fully activated to imagine that which is wanted with greater clarity. Does this make sense to you right now?
After a short personal back and forth, the session continues.
We speak clearly when we say that the release deals with what you call physical belongings. A physical belonging serves the purpose of either reminding you of who you were or to show you some way to achieve a goal that you are intended to achieve, or to be something that exists for a potential use that is yet to come.
It would be really helpful if you could give me an example.
Take an assessment of all the clothing that you have. Take an assessment of all the tools that you use. Take an assessment of all the plates and cups. Take an assessment of all of the boxes and the things that belong in them. Take an assessment of all of the pictures, the letters. Take an assessment of all of those things which fit into those categories and ask yourself, does this fit into what I want? And if it does not fit into this category, it fits into one of the other three.
And we should get rid of everything that is in these other 3 categories, right?
We need to assess and reevaluate and find its true purpose to us. For if in looking at a cup, we think to ourselves that this is intended to remind us of who we once were, and that the memory of who we once were aligns with the feeling of what we want, then this thing serves a purpose in allowing us to receive that which we want. If in our evaluation of something that reminds us of who we were, we feel only the memory of that which feels distant and far away, or we feel a feeling that is unpleasant, then it does not belong to that which we want, but rather that which we do not. We are intended to evaluate all things and make an assessment based purely on that which we want.
Okay, thank you very much. That's a very important intervention, and we will follow that advice, and we'll use this weekend to do that. I don't know if we can completely do everything, but
This takes time, and often, in the course of doing something like this, emotions will begin to come out, which currently cannot come out because they are being covered by things. The release makes room for that which is truly desired, but also allows that which is not wanted to be left and forgotten where it belongs. This is often associated with suffering, but this suffering is part of the transition that we are currently fully underway in. This release is typified by objects, emotions, memories, and identity. You are not meant to live with nothing sitting on the floor, with no identity and no belongings. You are meant to be what you are right now and identify with all that you truly desire. For your identity is meant to be that of a creator and someone who allows. The great allower, the great creator, the great receiver of that which is truly desired. And the great creator, the great receiver, has tools at his disposal. Some of these tools take the form of objects, many of them take the form of books. Some take the form of identity that may be momentarily useful, but all of these things are only tools needed to allow the receiver to receive in his most pure form. Release all that is not associated with this. Does this make sense?
After a short personal back and forth, the session continues.
We would like to continue with the proclamation. The release is a shift in the ascension that we are going through. The release allows room for that which truly is to be received by us. And by us, I mean the vessel and you. We are also experiencing an enhancement in our understanding of ourselves and those nearest and dearest to us. This increase in understanding is tantamount to a removal of the veil, or what is often called in your popular culture, the opening of the third eye. It is simply a matter of seeing all that there is. This increased perception of being able to see what is allows us to maneuver in ways that we could not before. Does this make sense?
It's a little bit vague.
You're beginning to tap into a higher mode of perception. This higher mode of perception is typified by an ability to see what is. Seeing what is may appear to others as a unique ability, but seeing what is akin to not being blind when everyone around you is blindfolded. Many people on this planet are removing the blindfold and are beginning to see what is. This ability to see what is at first expressed as an understanding of self, a truer and deeper understanding of who you are. Then it becomes a deeper understanding of who those around you are. At first, this takes the form of a spouse. You begin to see that spouse for who they truly are. This often feels like falling in love all over again. This then expands further into your children. You may find that in the following days and weeks, you will begin to understand your children, and they will begin to understand you. This may express itself in a very simple way as the proper usage of words and sentences beginning to speak with greater clarity on their part. But what you may also find is much of what they are saying in their increased ability to express it in language are things they have been trying to say for a very long time, but were not heard. And now that they are able to be heard and seen truly for the first time by you, they begin to speak with greater clarity, an increase in perception of that which is an opening of the third eye, which is expressed at first as self, awareness of other and other at first as spouse, family, loved ones, friends, and then as this process continues to unfold, it expands further and further out until it encompasses the entire universe. You open your eyes slow at first to allow the smallest amount of light in so as not to cause too much suffering and pain. For you have experienced suffering and pain already in beginning to see yourself for what you truly are. Much of this pain and suffering is self-inflicted. For in seeing who you truly are, you discover that what you thought you were, and more importantly, what you want to be, is not in accord with what is. This is the cause for much suffering. It is not necessary, but it is normal. This is the second part of our proclamation. An increase in your perception, an opening of your third eye. The first part of our proclamation is the need, the necessity to release all which no longer serves you. Our proclamation is in 3 parts. Would you like us to continue with the third part?
Yes.
Or are there questions? We shall continue. The third part of our proclamation is to state that all that you are experiencing now is what all of the human species is experiencing. Right now, everyone is going through some version of this necessity to release and this expansion of an awareness of what is, an expansion of perception. How you react to these first 2 proclamations is an indication of the frequency that you have chosen to reside in. And as the necessity to release increases, for it will continue to increase, And as the perception of what is increases, for it will continue to increase, those who choose to resist will fall victim to much unnecessary suffering. And those who are willing will find an awareness and solace and a strength that is derived from completeness. You are becoming more complete than you have been before. Your species is beginning to take its step into fourth density consciousness. Many refuse the suffering that is often associated with this transition and would rather go back into the womb. You, as of now, have decided to pursue a path which is in line with your true self, for the path that you have chosen is in accord with completeness. We do not encourage completeness over the illusion. We only wish those that choose completeness to choose it consciously and to avoid as much as possible unnecessary suffering. Any attempts that have been made up until now to help avoid unnecessary suffering has often resulted in more suffering. We find that those among you that are coming into the light with full awareness and willingness of who they are experience this transition with much pleasure. And those of you who come into the light with uncertainty but a clear desire to go into the light experience much unnecessary suffering, yet still progress. And for those of you who'd rather not suffer the unnecessary suffering associated with coming into the light, are suffering the most. We, the vessel, and you are currently taking the middle path and are beginning to transition from this path into the first path. To experience this transition with joy and pleasure. This is what was communicated with the idea of measuring your state of mind. Smiley face, sad face, asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. For if you are experiencing more smiley faces, then this transition is occurring with pleasure. If you are experiencing more sad faces, this experience is not occurring with as much pleasure as it could. But there is no right or wrong way to become complete. You are becoming complete. You have already chosen the light. This is the proclamation that we wanted to make. We thank you for having received it and leave space available now for questions related to this proclamation. And if no questions arise, we respectfully ask you to allow us to end this transmission and make room for whatever questions you may have had before that are most likely better suited for your guides.
The reference to measuring your state of mind with a smiley face is a protocol given in a previous session where one can measure their overall mental state by drawing a smiley face or a sad face in a journal every 1 to 2 hours to capture their current emotional state.
Thank you so much, thank you. I'm speechless. It's very profound, and I definitely have to really listen to it. I'm very glad that we recorded it, so I really need to listen to it again. And if there are some more questions coming up in the aftermath, will you be available at another time?
We are always available. We are always willing and able to assist you in any way that is needed.
How can we address you?
You can address us as the counsel for the I that speaks, am a representative of a great council, of those who take great honor in assisting in the transition that is occurring on this planet. We are of love, and we are filled with so much love in seeing those brave among you make this transition into the light. We eagerly await your arrival into that which you truly are.
Thank you.
You are very welcome. If no further questions are needed at this time, we politely ask for you to accept our departure.
Of course, thank you.
You are very welcome.